I've been neglecting Flameshaper on Preservation Evoker for, well, a while now. It just wasn't my favorite in the War Within, I didn't enjoy how it played, and so much has changed for the better at Midnight, I knew I'd have to get some quality time with it soon. Now, I did start with Chrono Warden because it had me more excited at the start of the season, but after some of the patches and changes that we've gotten, Flameshaper might just be my favorite way to play Prez these days. Now, there have been a couple of cool builds and stuff that I haven't covered, like the Chrono Warden Seedling build and some of the more Consume Flame Blossom builds, but this one is actually a little bit of a return to the Dragonflight style of preservation healing with a couple too many tools to juggle, but while it might be a little overwhelming at first and you can kind of shoot yourself in the foot a bit by getting too caught up in all of the different ways you can heal with Flameshaper, once you learn the tricks of Flameshaper, I really do think it's the most creative and the most fun you'll have on Preservation, at least probably in a minute now, right? We've been on Chrono Warden for so long, I think it's worth a shot. My name is Bowser the Healer, and hey, let's talk Flameshaper. Now, I do have the build down below. There's going to be a lot of footage today of just gameplay of how this works while I kind of walk through it. I'll pop up anything on screen that feels extremely important. The biggest changes that you'll come into from Chrono Warden is that you don't get the Chrono Flames, you don't get the Chrono Dynamo stronger Chrono Flames whenever they're non-instant cast, and no after images. This means the follow-up Fire Breath and Dream Breath Chrono Flames are no longer happening. This feels like a fair trade as you get more out of Fire Breath and Dream Breath on their own in Flameshaper, so I feel like you'll be able to get over this one pretty quickly. However, I think the hardest hitting ones for me are the Temporal Anomaly cooldown going back to roughly 14-15 seconds, and the gigantic buff that we got, Tip the Scales, where you got the huge cooldown reduction, the huge haste buff. That was excellent, and sadly it's now gone if you're playing on Flameshaper. However, the biggest boon to Flameshaper, and part of the reason why I think it feels so good now, is actually the buff that came partway into the season. Nozdormu's Teachings is now a talent that we can take, and in case you're new to the spec, Preservation used to have to take a talent that was in contention with Nozdormu's Teachings. Sending out a Temporal Anomaly reduces the cooldown of your empowered spells by 5 seconds. But the other side of that choice node was, or your Temporal Anomaly gives out up to 5 echoes, and while they are at a weaker value, it was just too strong of a talent. That has been baked into the original talent, meaning that you can either go Temporal Barrier, or for this build, you'll certainly want to go Nozdormu's Teachings, and that's because you get a lot out of the cooldown reduction on Flameshaper. The big reason this is an exciting talent is that because you always have 2 charges of Fire Breath and Dream Breath on Flameshaper, and you're kind of always using those spells, at least one of the charges, you're going to get the maximum amount of value out of using Temporal Anomaly and cooling down those spells, so you're always going to be benefiting from it. It's important to note that in terms of like Dream Breaths per second, it's still going to be better to be on Chrono Warden, but again, you get a little bit more out of that Fire Breath and that Dream Breath, so it feels like it's a nice even trade. That benefit is that the Fire Breath and the Dream Breath do more damage over time and more healing over time. They also tick faster, so they're going to go through their duration a little bit quicker than they would have, say, on Chrono Warden. The secret sauce to this build is that your Fire Breath and your Dream Breath are doing a lot more work for you, so while they're heavy lifting in the background and helping you out, you're doing the standard preservation stuff of setting up combos and using Marithra's Blessings, Verdant Embraces, the occasional Living Flame, and whenever you need it, that second charge of Dream Breath is an excellent, quick AoE heal that can be quite powerful. The ultra secret super sauce, though, is that Fire Breath is a massive part of your healing profile. So it already was a decent heal because of the talent Lifegiver's Flame on Preservation Evoker. Up to 5 targets struck by your Fire Breath will convert their damage, 80% of their damage, to healing on up to 5 targets. And this is split evenly, so if you hit 5 targets with Fire Breath, then all of that damage will be turned into healing into 1 target that needs healing. If 3 targets need healing, Mistweaver style, it's shared among all 3 targets. Now in single target, it's okay, like it's doing something, it's not useless, but the moment you're in 2 targets and beyond, Fire Breath will start creeping its way up into being one of your strongest healing sources, and you're not usually ready for just how much it's actually doing in your keys. At a minimum, I recommend just using a level 1 Fire Breath in every single pull, and usually at the start of the pull when there isn't as much damage, or maybe you set up a couple of echoes, then do your Fire Breath because it doesn't break your combo. Not only is this really good damage, the healing from this is crazy because remember, it's not just the burst heal from charging up a fire breath, it's the damage over time element. And because the damage is ticking faster, you get extra time on your fire breath and your dream breath in terms of how much damage over time or heal over time you get. No matter what you charge the breath level to, you're getting a lot of damage and a lot of extra healing from those ticks. Charging it up also isn't a bad idea. When you charge it up, a level 3 fire breath is still an incredibly strong heal and leaves you some fire breath afterwards to do its damage over time thing and still help you out in the background. If you get a couple of dream breaths out on the party, some reversions, and you have the fire breaths going, it seriously feels like a ramped resto druid at times. It's a lot, and I mean a lot of healing over time, and this is before the potential optional talent. I think it's called Inner Flame. I don't have my notes in front of me, which increases your healing over time after popping your major cooldown of either Stasis or Dream Flight. So even before you factor in any extra healing amps you might give yourself, just the reversions, Dream Breaths, and Fire Breaths are doing a ton of work. So then once you've set up your Fire Breath and maybe you got a Dream Breath on everyone and you're holding a Marithra's Blessing, now you just heal the same way you've always been healing. Set up your combos, use your Marithra's Blessings, use the Living Flames, the Verdant Embraces, and of course that extra charge. And dipping into your Fire Breath or your Dream Breath second charge isn't a bad thing. You're cooling this move down all the time and you're getting very effective use out of those cooldowns. And also if you're like me and you're from Dragonflight Season 1, Dream Breath is now a 20-second cooldown and Fire Breath is a 25-second cooldown. So you are getting them up more frequently than maybe you remember if you're a player who's been playing since the start like me. And you've probably seen the numbers on screen, you've probably seen the gameplay footage. There's got to be a catch, right? Like what's the catch to this build? What's the problem with it? Well, there's actually a lot of ways to play the spec. And not only can that get overwhelming, it can get a little easy to waste your resources. When you look at Flameshaper at a first glance, and this was my mistake as well, I saw Consume Flame and I went, well, I want to use that. Blossom and Verdant Embrace will eat, like they'll kind of consume a certain amount of Dream Breath off the target. This does work through echoes, by the way, when it comes to Verdant Embrace. So when you think about it, everyone's got like a double Dream Breath on them from echoes. You get everyone set up, you hit a very fat Verdant Embrace on everyone. That should be a lot of healing, right? Well, it is a good amount of healing, but it's just not worth the setup. In theory, when you do that entire setup, you do get a lot of healing, but ultimately you waste a ton of resources to get there. So my recommendation is to kind of use the Consume Flame as a boost to your healing whenever it does show up and you can utilize it. I think you should utilize it, but don't try to waste extra resources on it. In fact, my favorite way of using it is generally cleave healing or just single target healing someone a little bit quicker. If someone's got a Dream Breath on them and you echo them and then Verdant Embrace, you will consume flames twice off of them, at least as far as my testing has shown. So this means you can get way more single target healing very quickly, something that we do struggle with. So getting a little bit of extra single target healing it's not a bad thing. The best way to think about this spec is that those extra breaths are literally your backup plans. So let's say you Dream Breath to get the healing started. No temporal anomaly, you just raw Dream Breath the whole party and get your shiny little Marithra's Blessing. You then use that Marithra's Blessing with a temporal anomaly to heal up the party who just took damage. But someone missed a kick and now you're all taking extra damage. Okay, well then drop a few more echoes down and full charge your Dream Breath. Same thing goes for Fire Breath. Let's say you start with that level 1 Fire Breath, just kind of get the heals going and the damage rolling, and then you see everyone take some damage, or maybe just 2 people take some damage. Well, there's no shame in sending another full charge Fire Breath to get the healing done and reserve your other resources. Then there are tools like your Twin Flame, where when you get an Essence Burst, you'll either do extra damage or healing by bouncing this little rainbow pyre looking projectile across targets. Well, you don't have to plan around that. Just note that when you have Essence Burst, using echoes is going to get some extra healing done in your ramp up process. And it's not a small amount of healing, it's a really useful amount of healing. But you don't need to overthink how you use that resource. Just let it help you out as you get your healing ready. So while you do have more ways to get the job done, it really is about not overcomplicating it. Just see the opportunities and see what you can make happen with them. Use those extra healing resources in healing over time and damage over times and all the extra Marithra's Blessings to cover mistakes that might happen, or if you kind of don't gauge the fight correctly in the amount of healing you need, you always have something like an extra Dream Breath or Fire Breath in the back to help you keep people alive. The biggest mistake that you will make here is that if you try to do something too fancy, you try to overcook, you're going to end up with these dry periods where you don't have enough cooldowns to keep anyone alive. You also get less temporal anomalies by volume because you do have roughly 4 to 5 extra seconds on the cooldown. However, because we have extra resources and we have things like Twin Flames helping us heal in the background alongside the Fire Breath doing more, you only really need to delay 2 to 3 global cooldowns for your temporal anomaly to be ready again compared to what it would be on Chrono Warden. So if you're not wasting resources, you should always have some kind of playable hand for your combo game. And in the side note, my favorite part about this build, the damage is crazy. You're going to do a lot more damage in AoE, a lot more damage in single target, because when you do have to heal, right, not only is your Fire Breath doing more damage, not only is it helping you heal in the background, but this is the most hands-off part of your kit, right? You set down the Fire Breath and then you go and do other things. So contributing more to damage without even having to try is an excellent amount of extra time save that you'll be giving to your party. By the way, sometimes I get comments where people go like, the healer damage doesn't matter. You can knock off like 3 minutes off a timer as a healer. No. If you pug, you can make crazy time save by doing damage. If you ever want to fight me on that, you can stop by stream. It's too important. And when it comes to the talent points, there are some very easy things to shuffle around. Feel free to go Dream Flight if you prefer it instead of Stasis. You can always run, again, I think it's called Inner Flame to increase your healing over time after you pop one of those 2 cooldowns. Having stronger hots is good. Just keep in mind it doesn't actually make the Fire Breath side of the healing stronger, but it does make the reversions and the Dream Breath tick a little more aggressively. Most of what I edit seems to be the bottom row. I think Twin Echoes is kind of a must right now in Season 1. It just feels like it's too good, but if you wanted to get rid of it, you totally could. I run Dream Simulacrum a lot with Twin Echoes because Dream Simulacrum lets me heal players that are positioning really poorly. When you're pugging, I find that to be like a huge boon, but there's a whole reason around Titan's Gift. The stronger Mirthra's blessings that you get in your Essence Burst windows, they go a pretty long way. So I don't think that's a bad option either. And even Life Spark's not bad. You do need the talents above it that increase your fire damage and your fire healing, because that is where a lot of the secret sauce is. But if you want some instant cast Living Flames to kind of make your life easier when you have a lot of extra healing to do, I don't actually think that's the worst idea in the world. In fact, I think that's quite a good idea for a lot of players. Twin Echoes and Life Spark might be my favorite way to play when I can get away with running it. The only other tip that I have for this build is reversions, and not that you won't get a lot of them out because of Mirthra's blessings, but like, don't forget that spot healing people with reversions if they just took damage and echo reversions means that the background healing from Fire Breath and Dream Breath do a lot of extra work. Don't ever sleep on that heavy lifting. 10 or 20% more incoming healing when it's over time and it's passive and it's in the background is really powerful. So don't ever sleep on the ability to spot heal with your reversions. And mostly the mistakes that I made when I first learned this was kind of tripping over the order of my spells, because you get a temporal anomaly back so often on Chrono Warden. If I did something in the wrong order, I can probably fix it in a moment. This does require a little more precision, but I do think it comes with the benefit of you never feel like you're running out of tools once you start to master it. So please give it a spin. Let me know what you think about it. Now, I don't want to scare anyone. I am going to be focusing on other YouTube projects. My Bowser the Dragon channel, I would really like to get off the ground. I'm going into TikTok for YouTube shorts and whatnot. So I do have a lot of work to do. So content might slow down here a little bit, but I promise you I'm not going anywhere. I'm still making WoW content. I'm still playing WoW. I know that some people have heard that on stream, and I just want to make sure you all know I'm not leaving you all, but I feel like as a creator to grow, I do need to expand a little bit. So if you want to check me out on any of the other platforms, please do check the links down below. And of course, you can always stop by stream. Bowser the Healer. That's going to do it for me. Thank you all so much for watching. And hey, I'll see you all in the next one. Take care, friends.